So personal templates, I really use them a lot because I think it saves up a lot of time. And especially in the beginning when you feel really creative, you need all the time you have to get those creative things out of your mind into the computer as quick as possible. So having personal templates is one of the easiest way to begin, and always begin in the same environment and have a quick start actually, so you can get to the point really fast, which is the most important, and that's like the creative part of making music. So the melodies and the arrangement and the creating of the beats and all those things. So setting up your template, it's just one of the things to save up time from the beginning on. So yeah, let me just show you how I always used to work with templates. I always opened up, let's say here. So here you click new from template. That's actually to open up one. Don't save. And here you go, there's a few templates here. And if you have a good look, you see Joey template, JoeySuki, simple start. This is actually from the old Logic, so don't look at that. But let's say simple start. I've created that one, I open it, and you instantly have like your favorite way to begin a project. So for me, this is the perfect way to begin a project. As you can see here, I have one line that says kick, one line that says bass line, one line melody layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. I already colored all the blocks, so you already know the difference between each line. And I have like 10 audio tracks because I create my beats with audio samples actually. I'll show you later. But that's why I have these one ready to go. I already named them, but I didn't all give them a name like hi-hat and percussion. I left a few open and just called them beats. Because I think if you're gonna name too specifically, you're gonna put yourself in a box actually. So I would keep things a little bit open-minded. So make sure you have a template that is ready to go, but don't be too specific, because otherwise you put your thoughts in a box, and you will notice after a few months that you're not able to get out of that anymore. So here I have kick, clap, and hi-hat 2 and percussion, and after that is just beats, and I'll see what I'll put in there later on. This is the bass line. As you can see, all of my my lines are empty when it comes down to effects or whatsoever. That's also the same thing what I was talking about with boundaries. Don't put on too much FX already, or put on too many stuff that you used to work with, because if you're getting used to working with that, you're not pushing yourself to be creative and to think of new things. So make things easy, but not too easy. That's actually a thing you really have to look at. So for me, the bass line is purple. So I always know the purple one is the bass line in every project that I use, and same goes for this, same goes for the beats as well. If you have a look at this, the only thing I do at the beginning is this. I already create bus channels. So these are the bus channels. You have the bass one, the beats, the melody, and the FX, and that's because I like to work that way. I like to have 4 different kinds of buses. The bass, all the bass sounds go in there, so the kick including the bass line, the sub bass actually. Then you go into the beats, all the beats will go in there except for the kick. The melody, all the layers of melody go in there, and sometimes I create a different bus. If let's say you have a break and there's completely different plugins there, completely different sounds, that's where you would like to have a second bus for the melody. But normally I would just start off with one, and I'll see if I need to have a second one. And I always have the FX one. All the FXs that are in the track are going to this bus. Most of them actually. I just have a listen and see what's best, but most of the time it's just all of them. To control all of them in one package. And this is actually like my way to go. So it's really easy, really clean. As you can see, I have one plugin already connected to one line. This is the kick. That's because I always use this plugin to create my kicks. So whenever I start a new project, it's just opening from the template, and this is here ready to go. I already saved up about like 5 minutes by setting this up already, and I already know what I think is nice to start off with. So the coloring and the naming of all the lines, and already adding like the kick. I didn't put in any any preset here. It's just clean. Like I said, I don't want to think too much inside of a box. I want to have creativity left as well, so I didn't put in a preset. I still need to create the kick, but the plugin is already connected, so that's a big difference there. So let me just give you a quick explanation of how to create your own template like this. So let's say this is your template as well. If you say this is perfect for me, I would like to create this as well. You just open up a new project, create this, and put in everything you want in here, and just like you always work. And then you go to File, and then Save as Template. There you click on Save as Template, and here you see you just give it a name, and it will end up in your template folder. And eventually, when you open New from Template, let's say this, it will end up being here. So that's the easiest way to start off with your templates. For me, it works really well because it saves up a lot of time from the beginning, and you can get to the point, which is the most important thing in my opinion about music making, creating the melody and the creative part of being a music producer, instead of working on setting everything in the right setting. You can do this, you can do those things before, and this is one of those tips that will really help you. Having your own sound banks has a lot of pros and a few cons actually, but most of them are just pros. And one of those pros is that it's also a really great way to boost your workflow in the studio. When you're in the studio, you want to save up time to go as fast as possible and to get those creative ideas out of your head as soon as possible. So having your own sound bank saves up time, and it saves up time because you already have a sample bank from which you know you like the samples because you've created them yourself. You know they're built for your sound, and you know they work in the club or on the radio stations or whatever you want to make a production for. But those are the three key factors that I've always really liked. I don't need to go through like 10,000 different kind of kicks because I have like 10 kicks already ready to go, from which I really know that I like them and that I can use them for my productions. So setting up sound banks is really important. And let me just give you a quick look on how this works for me. If we go into the folders, let's say library, no, users, JoeySuki, desktop, samples. Here I have a sample bank called Suki samples. If you have a look here, those are all just samples that I created myself or that I always used. And as you can see, I already named them, so I know which one is what. Of course, you can you can use those things and put them in folders as well. I did it with a few things like this FX. I put up a lot of FXs that I liked in one folder, but as you can see, I already have them here as well. So those are all samples that I used in a lot of tracks and that I created myself or that I just really liked working with. So having a folder like this saves you up a lot of time because you don't have to search for any perfect samples. You just have one folder where all your perfect snares, all your perfect kicks, all your perfect FXs, it's all there, you know, and you save up a lot of time by going through all those sound banks. And let me just quickly tell you how I created this. When I downloaded a new sample pack, I just went through all the samples, just, you know, listening to it, like just listening. And as soon as I noticed, like, hey, this is a great clap, I'll just take it and save it in my own folder. And most of the time there were like maybe 3, maybe 4 claps, maybe 1 kick, and maybe 2 percussion sounds out of one sample pack, which probably contains like 200 to 300, 400 samples. So you actually make like your own selection out of one sample bank and you save it up in your own folder to save up time and to have only the perfect samples. So it will cost you a few minutes just once to go to the sample bank, and after that you only need to have a look at your own sample bank. The downside of having your own sample bank is that you need to be careful and you need to train yourself that every now and then you try to refresh the samples and add new things to it, because if you only keep using the same samples over and over, things will probably get boring for you. So push yourself to let's say download a new sample bank every month. Every month, just one sample bank, or every week, just one sample bank. Pick your favorites and put them in your own folder, and it will definitely work, definitely. Using presets is one of the best ways, in my opinion, to get a quick result. It's really easy to work with. There's a lot of things out there on the internet that will help you getting probably a pretty nice sound from the beginning on. And there's nothing wrong with using presets, in my opinion. Like, okay, someone else created them, but you can twist them and you can tweak them along the way. You can layer them with other sounds, and sometimes the preset is just the thing you've been looking for in your project. So don't really think too much about using presets. It's okay, you know, they're out there, they're there for a reason. If they add value to a track, and if you don't think it needs more than just that, accept it and go on with the project. Let me just give you a quick look on how I always worked with the presets. Like I said, with the sample banks as well, I always, besides the sample bank, I always kept my own preset bank as well. So every time I created a synth, or when I found a synth that I just really liked, I saved it. So that when I started a new project and I thought like, hey, I made a synth like 2 years back in this and that remix, and I really need that sound again because it would fit perfectly in this track that I'm working on right now. It's really easy to recreate that sound because you have a preset saved already. So it's just one click on the button and it's there, you know. It's really easy to work with. So let me just give you a quick look on how this works. You just add an instrument. So let's say we're going to take the silent, one of my favorites. As you can see, here's the silent. And then you go to the menu, presets, and then you do load. You can also load up a complete bank, but that's something differently. You just load a complete folder actually, but let's just say you do the one thing, only the preset. You'll just do load, and as you can see here, I have my own folders collected for all the plugins that I use pretty much. So here's the silent one. And as you can see here, these are all presets created for the silent. So this one is a known created thing. This one is a known created thing. This one is a known created thing. And these are just existing preset banks that you can use if you want to. You probably all know a few of them, like the Cashmere one and the Sample Star. Those are pretty famous ones. But I always save my own sounds here as well, because it's really easy to work with, and it's really easy to just open up, like let's say this one, and just play in a few notes. So that's the thing that I used for a remix like 5 years back, maybe 6, 7 years back, I don't know, a long time ago. But I saved the preset, and whenever I feel like, hey, I need that sound again, because that's the thing that I've been looking for the track that I'm working on right now, it's just 2 clicks away. So it saves up a lot of time, and you have the same exact sound as you had 5 years ago. So to me, having a preset bank, your own preset folder, is also one of the best ways to save up time and to collect your own sound into one special folder.